Even though I must say I had no hopes for getting this one. But this is what happens. We played them off the park the last three times and we lost. And today we struggled till the 70th. And I was absolutely sure nothing's going to happen up this one. But kind of like the Benfica game, I think we scored four goals after the 70th, 70th, 75th minute. And
Mm.
when you didn't think about it, Barca were back on top of the league with one game to spare. And we finally put the Atleti demon to bed. Outstanding. Tom?
I, absolutely. I mean, it was starting to look like Atletico are becoming the kryptonite of this Flex Barca, and I truly was starting to buy into that narrative because, yes, as you said, this is a game that I wasn't expecting us to win. Well, I was before the game. I was confident, but then once we got into the game, in the first opening 15 minutes, we were quite good. 15 minutes, we were really on point, and that's kind of weird because usually the first 15 are the worst, right? Because we take time to get into our groove. But now, today, we kicked this off very well, and then nothing, right? We fell off the cliff. Nothing was happening for a while, and Atletico were so happy with that. They were so happy to just sit there, shuffle left and right a bit, congest the midfield, and that's all they did. And they hit you on the break, and they score two goals, bam, bam, and you're like, okay, this is it. We're not doing anything for the rest of the game. But this is Flex Barca. Even when we play badly, you can always hope we'll score goals, and we just needed a bit of a push. And tonight's push seemed to be the goals, seemed to be the, I don't know, some sort of discrepancy in quality and performance, whatever it was. But something gave us a push, and once that push arrived, Jesus, man! My girlfriend is making me apologize publicly. I do apologize for to my neighbors because I probably woke them up. I'm quoting her, by the way. I had to tweet that as well. So, guys, I do apologize to my neighbors and to her for starting. I was really screaming too loud. So sorry, everyone. Sorry,
Okay.
neighbors. It was worth it, though. It
It's
was
so worth
worth
it, man. That's football. If you don't scream now, when will you scream after a game like this? It's insane. Yeah, it's
it.
absolutely insane what happened right now. But yeah, let's start with. I think let's start with the changes. I think Longley and Lenormand in defense that really changed things up, and they were so good in that first half.
Mhm. They knew what they had to do, and we talked about this, Ev, in the preview as well. We knew what to expect, kind of, right? Okay, we knew.
Okay, something happened out there. I think Dom's lost. But yeah, I mean, okay, let's take some questions while Dom comes back. So we have what a match. Ferran sub of the game.
It
Absolutely, he
says
was.
connection.
Dom, are you back?
Oh shit!
Are you back? Oh, Dom's gone. Anyway, yes, Ferran sub was absolutely a game changer, and he keeps proving that, game after game this season. No questions on that. And today, definitely. I mean, when the Sorloth goal happened at the 70th, I was like, yeah, this is it. And this is it. And then every time it's Sorloth lately against us. So yeah, that was. But like every single time, I think every time Ferran Torres has got a chance this season, he has made it count, and today was no different. It absolutely changed the game, and there's like there's a reason why what we are hearing is that Flick and Deco and everybody else want to renew him again, because every coach that he has played for in Barca, they've had full support for him. Yes, he's not a starter all the time, but what he brings from the bench and what he gives to the team, it's unbeatable. So yeah, totally, absolute game changer. Let's look at the next one. We have gone and done it. The treble and Ballon d'Or are coming home. Hopefully, there will be nothing like that. If that can happen. But let's see. I think Dom's back again. Dom, are you back?
Hey, yeah,
Yep.
I'm back. Sorry, it seems my excitement broke the internet as well. Don't know what happened. Connection lost. Yeah, keep on. Carry on.
Oh no, I was just doing questions, but you were gone. We are only gone and done it till the treble and Ballon d'Or are coming home. Yeah, and I was saying that. Yeah, I mean, may that happen. May the treble and the Ballon d'Or come home. And definitely, it's wins like this that will give us the confidence. Because when you win like this at the Metropolitano of all places, I mean, you have an enormous amount of confidence and believe that you can go and make anything happen. We still have a game in hand. We are top of the league. We're doing okay in the Champions League. I think we have a favorable tie against Dortmund. Things can
Yeah,
happen, but still.
yeah.
So I think look, things are looking good, and if the team can continue in this fashion, there is no reason to not believe that this might actually happen. But
Yes, yes, I think this is such a good time to be a Barca fan. I mean, for the full 70 or something minutes, it didn't look like that, but in the end, really, guys, I don't really know. I don't even know. I was gonna come here and talk about the Atletico setup and the tactics going wrong, but I just don't feel it. It's that appropriate. We can touch upon it. We can touch
Yes,
upon it because yeah, there were some things that I do feel like we didn't do that well. Of course, there's quite a lot actually in the first
first
half,
half.
first half especially, and then
We had
a
our
good
number in the first half.
yeah, a good chunk of the second half as well. But guys, I mean, this is what makes a champion team, right? I mean, and for a team full of kids to do, I mean, we keep saying that. I'm bored hearing myself saying that again, but it's so important because these kids are doing this, and to have a team that is so inexperienced at the biggest stages, even though we are Barca, but we have players who don't know what this feeling is, right? Who don't know what it's like to play at the Wanda and play against this Atletico side, against Simeone's side that knows how to park the bus, congest the middle, shut down all your biggest strengths and tools, and then prey on every chance they get. And they do that perfectly. They need two chances to score two goals. We need
That's it.
a lot more, and often against Atletico Madrid because three times we've played them this season. And I don't think there's any other team that we've missed more chances against than
Yes.
Atletico Madrid. And it's quite weird. And in the first game that we lost against them in La Liga, we played the best football of our season, and now we played some of the worst football of our season. But now we won this game, and we lost the first game. I mean, how
That's
crazy is
football.
that? Actually,
That's just what
exactly.
football is. You someday you play an outstanding game, and
Hmm.
things don't go your way. And today, like at the 70th, I was like, not even 70th. Before that, I was like, if we get a draw, I'll be happy. The way Barca was
Yeah.
playing, and Simeone had like the perfect game plan. They shut out all the routes. Pedri wasn't as effective. I think Casado couldn't bring. Like he's very
Hmm.
good defensively, but he didn't have Frankie's ability to get the ball out. So I think that was off. Our forward line did not have any. They were just start of any. So they couldn't do much. And
Hmm.
and when, of course, Sorloth scored again on the 70, I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
it. But then, like somebody said, that Ferran's, I think, sub was absolutely on point. And this, how many times has this happened this season? That his sub has
Yeah.
really revitalized the game. I know somebody has talked about DePaul's handball, and we'll go there as well. But
Yeah. Sure.
overall, and the last goal from Lamine at the 98th minute. I mean, it was outstanding. Like these are the games that we should absolutely take all the time and enjoying because we have suffered for almost 10 years of
Yeah.
not going through emotions like this or emotions like this or feelings like this. So we have every single right to feel good. And kudos to Hansi Flick to having made this happen. Of course.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the Ferran sub. I'll touch on that upon that first. Obviously, yes, we know that that's who he is, right? A super sub. He comes off the bench and he does things. Now, initially, when I saw okay, Raphinha has been moved centrally, Ferran is out wide on the left. I wasn't sure about Ferran being as effective there. And in the end, it was his effectiveness down the middle that changed the game, not out wide doing winger things. No, it was the center forward things that he does well that changed the game, or well, he scored the goal, right? And then Rafinha being centrally instead of Olmo, I didn't like it as much either because again, Atletico parked the bus and they compacted that middle zone.
Middle.
And if you have Rafinha in those zones where there's no space and he has to turn in those tight spaces, I would rather have an Olmo there than Rafinha, to be honest with you guys. And that's part of the reason why Rafinha was ineffective today, mostly because there was no space to run into, right? And that's partly our own fault. So, okay, let's go into that bit. I don't want to spend too much time on our deficiencies tonight because it's a very celebratory night. However, let's get this out of the way. So if you pin down the opponent in their half, that's good. That's good if you can sustain the pressure. Meaning, if you control the tempo well, you can shift the ball really quickly, and you can keep coming on and on and on with waves of attack. That's good. But in Barca's case, they kind of pinned the opponent down, but they didn't really have the tempo control. So they were very slow and circular. So what happens then? You get that U shape of death. That's first thing. And Atletico can just shift from left to right slowly and cover all the spaces. Number one. Number two is you congest the pitch. But in this case, if you're not sustaining pressure well, the congested pitch works against you. Why? Because you remove all the space to run into. You're basically forcing Atletico into a very, very small and compacted area, and you don't have anywhere for your Raphinhas and your Olmos and your Lamines to run into. So basically, you're forcing yourself to play against a very low and deep block with a tactic that's not sustaining pressure well. So I think in our case tonight, pinning them down was actually working against us. So I think that was a big thing for Barca tonight. If we were somehow to force them out for a bit, draw them out, create the space, hit the space. That was the more effective approach tonight, I felt like. But Atletico being Atletico, they were very happy doing what they do best, which is sit back and just, okay, you come to us. We're not coming to you, really. They did a couple of times, but mostly they were very happy to sit down. So I think that was the fault in the approach. But that was only because we played without initiative, without intent, without venom, right? There was no incisiveness in our passing. And that's why we created our own kind of our own misery, I would say that. So, but that's it. From I'm not going to be any
No, no, no,
more
it's okay.
critical, but
It is what it is. And I think there's a point from on the chat as well. Athletic full low block second should not have been counted for at the moment, but our defense against those counter block was so bad. Yeah, but you also have to give it to Julian Alvarez and their forward line. I mean, the goal they scored was brilliant. I mean, they showed one opportunity, one perfect pass, as brilliant finishing. Like, you got to give it to that. So how much can you blame the defense for the way Hansi Flick plays? I don't know. Could they have done any better? I honestly, maybe not. But that was I would give credit to Atleti for that goal. That was an outstanding goal that they scored, more than a defensive lapse today, from that perspective. But with this defense, we all know that it is going to be like this. This is a risk of playing with the defense that Hansi Flick believes in, and he's not going to change, and we know that. So yeah, I think it's going to happen from game to game where we'll feel that. I don't think it will completely be nullified. Just what I feel.
Yeah, I think defending it was a bit suspect tonight. It was really we didn't really hold the line that well, and when these things happen, that's it, right? That's the biggest crack to our defense, right? If the coordination is not there, if you miss just one step, that's it. You put yourself in a situation where the opposition has a clear chance on goal, and that's what we keep saying. Look, guys, this is good when it works, but it's also a roulette because it is. It actually is, and it is also a Flick's way of actually somehow preventing his defenders from getting into too many direct 1 versus 1 duels because they have the high line to save them from ever having to engage in a duel because the attack stops before it can get to that point where you can have to engage directly. So and that's why having someone like Araujo is still very valuable in these scenarios, because technically if you remove Inigo from tonight, okay, he had that assist, so with hindsight you can't really say much, but I think we were not doing much with the ball from the back line in the first half anyway, or even until the 70th minute anyway. So having Araujo there instead of Inigo might not have changed, or might not have.
Outcome of the game, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, attacking wise, from our perspective, it wouldn't have taken away from our attack much or at all, right? While it may have added defensively. So with hindsight, maybe that was the wrong choice by Flick. But I also think that the absence of Frankie was absolutely massive tonight as well.
Yes, and that was
And this is the night that shows you why, at the moment, everything points towards Frankie being ahead of Casado. Because in a game like tonight, where we have sloppy passes, where you have these moments of breaking up play, where you have Atletico doing their own thing, both mentally and physically, out muscling you and doing things that we can't cope with. Casado's flaws were very highlighted, and he cannot really wrestle that game state away from them and put it back in our favor. Whereas Frankie, if he was there, I'm pretty sure he would have been able to do that, because he can do that. He can bend the game state to our will, right, to our liking. And that's why I still prefer Frankie, or that's why we kept saying that on the channel as well. Frankie as a whole is a better player, but they can both be a bit situational. But I think at the moment Frankie is just ahead of him.
All right, let's keep going. A lot of comments coming in, so we'll try to take as many as possible. The black bus broke down to its destination. Yeah, for banter is absolutely allowed, and be a fan. So there's banter when we lose, so there's banter when we win. So it's absolutely fine. But yes, till the 70th minute, I would say Cholo Simeone would have been very happy with his bus and what it was leading to. I think Alvarez's sub changed the game, and I think while Longley has been amazing for them, the goal that Ferran scored, I think that's one of the reasons probably why Longley does not play for Barca anymore. I mean, those lapses have happened. One
Yeah.
can. It's not his direct fault, but he should have covered it. Is what Atleti fans would feel. Not us. We are happy. We got the score. We got the goal. But till then, and once we got that one chance, and in the 78th minute, I think, and at the end it is so frenetic anyways, and you throw the kitchen sink anyways towards, and then the opportunities came through and we just went at it and we won the match. But so yeah, Simeone wouldn't be unhappy with what he did, but yes, finally we did win. So yes, the black bus did break down finally at the Metropolitano. Pedri was a little bit off color today. Yes, he was, but I think he's just tired. I think he's been playing non-stop, and not that
Yeah.
everybody's been playing nonstop, so
Yeah.
can't really say that he's doing more than all the others. That said, though, I just think it was tiredness more than anything else. But Tom,
Yeah, it was. I think it was tiredness. Again, I go back to that thing you keep saying, that if you have so many individual mistakes on basic things, then must be either physical or mental exhaustion or both, and it can be the case. But then again, if you look at Atletico Madrid, they had less rest and they were mentally far more broken than
sharper,
us.
very
Yeah,
sharp.
yeah, and then they were sharper than us on the night. So I think for most of the game, actually, but not in the end, not as much. But at the beginning, definitely. So I don't know what the cause was, but then they also played well to shut down Pedri and shut down any access in the
The
central
middle,
areas.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, the middle was
Every
just
Olmo both they were shut down today.
yeah, yeah. It was mostly inaccessible, right? And Pedri had to drop a bit deeper as well at times because of Casado, because Casado couldn't handle the progression by himself, which again Frankie would give you, and it would relieve Pedri to be a bit more free. It is what it is. We do love Casado nonetheless, but yeah, that's the difference between the two, obviously. And yes, Pedri. Maybe it was a bit of as they've said, individual exhaustion, mental fatigue, whatever it was, but it was also Atletico Madrid doing things really well as well. We have to give them credit because they were pretty good.
Very good.
I mean, yeah, we don't fancy their style of football. Many coolers don't, and that's fair to say. But at the same time, they are very good at what they do, and that's just a fact.
Absolutely, you got to give credit where they belong. I mean, for the first, like today, Barca wasn't at the races for the longest time, and that's credit to
Hmm.
the way Atleti was playing. So you got to give
Hmm.
credit there. Okay, Leva missing too much. Yes, we have discussed it a lot, and yes, it
Yeah,
was he should have scored that first one, and he missed it, and then immediately Julian Alvarez scored, and then everybody was feeling very bad. But the point is that he did score, and he keeps
yeah,
scoring, and he's
yeah,
the one
yeah.
who started the whole thing. So I get all the hate against Leva, but the point is there aren't that many players better than him even right now that you can consistently depend on and get those 30 goals in a season out. I just don't see that happening, even with all the faults that Lewandowski has right at this moment. Until you get somebody really elite, and we don't have the money for that, anyways. So even if you replace him, like, will that person give you those 30 goals that Lever has given this season? I doubt that. I really doubt that. And it has come in tough games as well. Yes, he does miss. Yes, but physically, I mean, he was running out there, and he was running faster than 16, 17 years old people, right? So overall, I think yes, we can criticize him, and we should. But that said, he did score, and for that he deserves credit.
He does, and the way he scored, because he misses chances that he should not be missing, because we know what kind of a finisher he is. But then he receives the ball, turns, creates his own angle to shoot, and scores a sublime goal. So I think from that perspective, yes, he does things that not many other striker or players in our squad can do. But then, yes, I have to agree with the comment as well, because everything else falls apart around Lewandowski, and that's a big problem, because so often it does feel like you're playing with a man down, because he can't really do layoffs well. He can be a target man occasionally, not always. Sometimes he can win his duels. He doesn't really dribble. Can't run as much as you would want him to run, or as much as Flick wants his forward line to run. So there's so many deficiencies, and he has this one thing, and that's this his instinctive finishing, because not many
Instinct.
other players, yeah, in our squad can do that, because he can create his own shots, right? Look at someone like Benjamin Sheshko or Ekitike, players that we are linked to. Those players are very good at creating their own shots and angles to shoot, and that's why they are so good inside the area. They can be so effective inside the area. Now Lewandowski can do that as well, because he needs one touch. He can be so sloppy in position. He can have the heaviest touch of them all, but then something clicks and he just has this movement that creates separation, number one, sets up the shot, number two, and then he shoots and scores a wonderful goal, number three. And not many players in that squad can do the same thing, despite Lewandowski's obvious flaws, and there are, of which there are many, and we know that. We know, absolutely know that. But yeah, as long as he can keep scoring, I think Flick will keep him on and have him as this, start a striker. For next season, we don't know, but for this season, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it is what it
Hey,
is.
Vandy, yes, we're back. You're always here. Thank you so much. You're one of the OGs. So thanks for always being there supporting us. It's brilliant to see us win another matter. Yes, it is brilliant. Wins like this absolutely matter a lot. And it's great that we could pull this off. And
Yeah,
just the happiness and just that feeling of, when you're not, when you've given up, kind of like, no, this is not going to happen. And then you get a result like that. And if you wait till the 98th minute to get it, that feeling is just that much better. So yeah, no questions on that. Outstanding win. Definitely puts a lot of focus on us and probably paves the way for us to also win the league if it continues this way, given where we are and the rankings in the league table right
yeah,
now. So hopefully, may that continue. We cannot expect a beautiful game that plays this way. We have to win ugly against teams like this. Well done, Barca. Yes, probably. But did we play ugly? Probably not. But yeah, I do understand that if you cannot play like, fluid, beautiful 27 sequence passes, goals with Atleti, yes, that is understandable. But that said, I think the team held on and did what they had to do to win. And I think Flick's substitutions played, again, a massive role, though I would have thought that why not start with them anyways. But then probably when we start with them, we don't get the same output. But Dom, your thoughts?
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Especially with Ferran. I mean, I don't know about Eric. I mean, I would also go with Casado over Eric at the beginning because I think the idea was, okay, we're gonna pin them down and we're gonna counter press them to death and not allow them to get out. And that's what Casado can give you, even more than Eric can as well. So I think that was the game plan. The game plan was to create this ring around them, then squeeze, keep squeezing, and that worked for about 10 or 15 minutes in the beginning, but then something just happened. We became sloppy, and Atletico just grew into the game. And once they grew into the game, then those players that Flick had picked were suddenly not as fitting anymore, right? But then that was too late. I mean, he did make changes, yes. He did make changes, and he did change the game again, Flick did. Maybe I was even expecting that to happen earlier, like at halftime, but he gave them some time to try and change things on their own without him intervening too much. But, the most important thing is that he made the changes, and the changes once again did their thing, right? So I think that's the main thing because Flick has been on point with that. That's one of his strengths. Man management, just in controlling the game state, knowing what to do when. Really good.
Raphinha pressing is invaluable. It is. Absolutely. That's half the reason why he's in the team. Though for some reason he performs insanely well in the Champions League and not to that same level of efficacy in La Liga. But that said, like, what a season he has been having. And if there are shouts for Ballon d'Or for Raphinha, I would say they're 100% justified right now at this moment.
Yeah, yeah.
And if the season continues like this and Barca wins silverware, and the important ones, I think he has a very good chance of actually winning it this time, given the competition, given how football has changed in the last few years, and the discourse has changed completely. So yeah, it was outstanding. Now let's go to a more important question, which is around De Paul's handball. We generally don't talk about handballs or refereeing problems because it goes nowhere, that conversation. But Dom, what did you feel?
When I saw it first, I was like, okay, that's a clear handball. I still think it was a clear handball. The game should have been stopped right then and there. However, if you played the advantage, because we won the ball, I think that's the explanation. We won the ball back. We played for a couple of seconds, and then we lost it again. And that's when the attack that leads to a goal happens. Now, they had to stop the game right then and there, in that instant. And then, yes, okay. But since the play went on and we got the ball back, the referee was like, okay, I'll give them the advantage, I guess. Yes. And then we lost the advantage, and then we conceded the goal as well. So I think it was a clear handball. I think that's number one. Number two, if you're going to play the advantage, I don't know. It just seems weird. I think it should have been brought back, but I'm not a referee, and I'm too emotional at the moment. I'm too subjective. I think.
Yes.
Right. So
We're too much on the side of Barca on this one.
I think so. But it was a clear handball. That much is clear because the replay showed them touching the ball. I mean, and the hand was not alongside the body, it was right there, right out. So I think from that perspective, it was a clear handball. But then if you play the advantage and then you lose that the ball within that advantage, I think there's a case for the referee making the right call as well. But I just don't know. I just don't know that.
Yeah,
What
it's
about
just
you?
that, but it's. I think my point is a little bit different. I think we see it often, right? The playing of the advantage, and that happens more often than not with Barca on the high line. And you will see
Yeah.
that you see it on the game, and you're like, this is an offside, and
Mhm.
nobody's waving the flag, and the attack completes, and then you see the the flag coming up. So, and it always causes confusion because you don't know until the flag's coming up whether it's being given or not given or what have you. And
Mhm.
this happens not just for offsides; it happens in situations like this as well. So, is it a rule thing where we should relook the rule of whether the game should be brought to stop immediately without playing the advantage, because when you play the advantage, then it is where it is left to interpretation, right? Because if it was like a hard rule, no, this happens, stops, whatever, doesn't
Yeah.
matter, game stops, there is no room for ambiguity or argument. But whenever you
Yeah.
play the advantage, it's left to interpretation. Well, this happened, maybe that happened, something else happened, and then
Yeah.
it becomes my word against yours. So I don't know, is there a thought in that? Same goes, I think, even with that, like there's so many rules, like the closest will
Mhm.
be Alvarez's goal in the Champions League.
Yeah, I think the ambiguity of the rules is exactly what's troubling most fans nowadays, because you see it every week seems to be a different rule book out there, right? Because one week they will call a foul on this, but next week that won't be a foul, in a different situation. So the same goes for handballs have become a very difficult subject, because nowadays you can just go into the box and just punt the ball at someone's hand. They can't even move the hand in time. They can't even put the hand behind their back or whatever. Even if the hand is behind the back, sometimes the handball is called. I don't know. I really don't know the rules at this point, because they are so complex, and what's true one week is not true the other week next week. So that's my biggest thing about the handball thing. But yes, to my in my perspective, I don't know. I just call the handball right then and there, and that's it. And you just remove all the
That's it.
drama,
In
all the
Dom's
all
world, you call that
yeah,
handball, game stops. That's it. So that's all we
game
can say,
stop.
guys.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
can't
yeah,
really give you more than that because we're not in the game. We're not referees, and it's always subjective
yeah,
refereeing discussion. So yeah, moving on. I feel we need more disruption, especially on the left. I mean, yeah, of course, that's been said many times. And if this team has a weakness, it's that left wing, and we have talked about it, and you've talked about it, and everybody on this channel has talked about it, and everybody on Twitter is talking about it. So that's not new. And yes, so the moment you shut down Lamine, our creativity goes for a loss. That is true. And today, Ronaldo did a phenomenal job, I think, of just checking, Lamine, and he wasn't very effective in the for large parts of the game, because they checked him, and then there's no shame in that because they checked, even Kylian Mbappe and Vinicius and Rodrigo 2 days back, so they know how to do this. They're very good at it. They're extremely drilled as a team to make that happen. So can't really blame. And yes, on the left we need somebody. The question is who. And the question is which person fits with this team. There are many names out there. There's a cost, and then who fits in. So, Dom, I know we are building content
Mhm.
around this, but a couple of points from you before we keep moving.
Yeah. I think the way you guys have to look at this is it's very complex, right? Because okay, if you look at if you look at the striker that you want to bring in, you have to look at how the striker's profile impacts the wingers that you have, or vice versa. You have this type of winger, you have Lamine, who's a creator, heavy on the ball, you have Raphinha, who's a runner who attacks the space. So what kind of a striker fits that role? Okay, so that's number one. Number two is I have these wingers, so what does my fullback need to look like if I have these wingers? It's all connected. That's why people say that football or a team or a structure is just one big organism, right? Because everything is connected. The profile of fullbacks determines the profile of your wingers, and the profile of your wingers determines the profile of your striker, because it's all connected. They're all having so many connections on the pitch that you can't buy one or put one in without taking into consideration the other, right? So that's where this conversation needs to be, not just in a singular player, but how that profile affects the players around them, or how the players around them determine the profile that you need. So that's the more complex answer to that question. So when you say that okay, this player needs to be at Barca, then you have to consider okay, how does that player impact the fullback or the striker? How does the relationship look between those three players, right? So that's the thing. But to your point, yes, on the right we have disruption, we have one versus one quality, but on the left we don't as much.
You don't have the
Now,
similar, yeah,
yeah,
the
yeah. But sometimes you don't even need the same profiles to have to across the front line, because you have a creator, you have a poacher, you have a runner. On paper, that's a very good balance, right? It's a very good balance if all three can do their jobs. Now, why is Raphinha more effective in the Champions League? Because the game states. In the Champions League, the football is more open because
open.
the control of the game is more equal, right? There's usually, especially in knockout phases, there's no one team dominates this much, the other team is very, very poor and much weaker. In the Champions League, that should not happen as much. And what that means is that the game is decided more on moments of brilliance or lethality finishing, and also in transitional periods, because both teams will struggle for control. They'll wrestle for control, and when you wrestle for control, you play a more of a back and forth game. So I think that's why Rafinha thrives more. Am I frozen? Oh, no, you're just no, sorry. So that's why Rafinha thrives more in Champions League, because he gets more space. That's the short answer. There's more going into it, but the short answer is just the game state and the way that teams approach the Champions League and the quality of teams. In La Liga, you're gonna get this, or we got against Atletico more often than you get open spaces like, I don't know, Valencia gave us 2 or 3 times in a row. So that doesn't really happen in La Liga usually.
All right,
Right.
lots of other comments, so we got to keep moving fast. We will take the next one, which is we talk about more the mentality of streaming. Yes, we do. This is the one. If Flick has changed 2 or 3 very drastic things that have changed overnight, or not overnight, but over time, but in a relatively short amount of time, it will be the mentality. But I would say that even with Xavi, we saw it at times. It wasn't that we didn't see it, but this team is definitely in a different league altogether, and for that, Flick deserves all the credit in the world. Because this is not the first time that we have come from the death or won a game, or it has become. And the more you do, you start believing in it, which is what Real Madrid do very well. They just believe that they will win. It doesn't matter what happens. That whole team as a collective believe that we are Real Madrid, we can win and we will win. And once you start having that belief, amazing things start happening, right? And then Barca is still not there, but if they continue in this way and look at the number of games, like Benfica was there, this was there. There are many games in this season that have happened in this manner, and for that, like, Flick deserves absolutely all the credit in the world. How he has done it, I don't know. I wish I did, but then I would use it in my life to do better myself. But he's outstanding. He's outstanding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. We are Barca. We never die. That's how the saying goes, and I think we're seeing that. We're absolutely seeing that. And speaking of mentality, I think of course Raphinha is to be mentioned, but I thought also that Lewandowski did well after we went down, and when we scored the first goal. I think he also kind of got a boost, and he was trying tonight. He was. I mean, a lot of things didn't go his way. Control, movement, dribbling, you name it. Passing, it wasn't really going his way. But the way he reacted and the way that Rafinha reacted after that goal, our first goal, I think it was good. I mean, it was the whole team that reacted well because we stepped up our game. Somehow we managed to dig deep and find something within us to actually keep going and improve in the little time that we had left, and there was little time, to be fair. There wasn't much time to score 2, let alone 3 or 4 goals against Atletico Madrid of all teams in the span of 20 minutes or something. So I think from that perspective, absolutely, this team just has that something. And imagine what this will do to their mentality or their mindset right now, because we've beaten them. We have to face them one more time. So I don't know in which mental state they will come to that game against us in the Copa. But I would say that we are in a much better state at the moment than anyone in La Liga, and we have to use that. We have to use that.
What does Rafa lack to be a prominent 9? Off the ball movement is great, finishing is good, heading is good, even though he might be a little bit light in the current setup. We don't see him. I don't know, but I think Raphinha always needs a little bit of space, a little bit of running. If you see all the goals that and they're all bangers this season, but every time it has been, he has space in front of him. He has made that connection. He has, controlled the ball, and he's got 10% chances, and he has scored, right? But for a 9, that person won't always have space. They will be in different situations where they'll have to make snap judgments and very quick decisions and then just score, which Lewandowski is very good with, to be honest. Throughout his career, has been amazing at that. I don't think Raphinha will ever be that person. But he will score bangers for sure, and he can continue doing this. But will he be a nine? I just don't think from a profile perspective that's how he plays football, and that's what his strengths are. He can be a great, like we tried him as a half 10, can be said, wings. But I think Flick's got the best of him in the role that
Yeah.
he plays. I don't think there's any other role that fits him more than what Flick is using him at. But then that's just yeah. But
Yeah,
don't
the way to optimize Rafinha even more is to actually have either a false nine or have a more combinatory number nine down the middle. So someone who can actually get Rafinha into those positions or actually get him the ball into those positions a bit more. So that's how you get even more out of Rafinha. But yes, to Dev's point, space is the thing that he was lacking under Xavi. Was lacking when he was the right winger because he was mostly glued out wide and he was forced into these dribbles from a standstill position, which is different when you receive the ball to feet and then attack the space. That used to be his profile. Now his profile or his role is he runs into space, then he receives the ball. That's the difference. So
yep.
instead of being received to feet, go into space, now he's goes into space and receives the ball. That's the difference, and that suits him much more. He's a good dribbler. He's a decent dribbler, but not from a standstill position. Not someone who's overly agile and overly bendy, so to speak, not overly elastic, so to speak. So he can't really move the marker as much from a standstill position. He can't really explode in one way, then turn, like Lamine, for example, go one way, then turn the other way very, very fast to kind of unbalance the opposition, right? He can't really do that as much. So, and to be a number nine, to Dev's point again, yes, the space is often tight. Receiving back to goal with a marker on your back and then having to turn or dribble from that position, again, not being able to run into space as much. He could do that. See, the way that Ferran Torres was used at City, for example, was he would drop deep, do a simple link up, and then dart back into space immediately because the ideal scenario was if I drop deep, I will drag the center back with me, which means that opens the space behind me. And if I dart back immediately, so I do an opposite movement, go down and then up immediately, I will be able to exploit the space even though I started from a very tight area, so to speak. So that would be one way, but I don't think the way Barca play, I'm not sure that would be as effective. I think again, to Dev's point, this is the best use of him at the moment.
I love how Raphinha and Yamal overlaid the right wing. Yes, Fandi, I think, and somebody said that we did not have creativity on the left flank, and it's true. And even if you use Raphinha on there, he won't be as creative as Lamine. We know that. And this was probably a page out of Xavi's book of isolating to overloading one flank massively. So that's what he did. Like we had two very good people on the right flank, and Flick just went for that. And instead of trying to, make a 4 into a 5, I'll make my 9 into a 10, and I'll totally put all my energy on my right flank, and I'll utilize that. And that's what he did, and kind of paid off because we were far more incisive in the second half than we were in the first.
We were, yeah. And I think the changes bore fruit, and great to Flick again. Yes, I mean when you're getting constantly overloaded yourself, then one way to use that is either because if the opposition is overloading one side, that means that there's the other side is underloaded, right? That's one way to exploit that is to quickly swap sides and exploit the underloaded side quickly. Now, Barca didn't always have the necessary game or the tempo control to actually access the underloaded sides quickly enough, so that wasn't an option. The other option is you just fight fire with fire. And if you do get overloaded, you put more bodies there to try and outplay them in tight spaces in those close corridors, which Barca can do because our technical floor is still much higher than Atletico's floor. So I think that was also a viable option for us. And that's also why we kept trying to, again, walk the ball into the net so many times. We just try to combine in such a small area. We try to make 100 passes, and it's not always a viable option because Atletico are very good in closing down the space and then dueling and just out muscling you off the ball. So I think that wasn't always the right choice. But then in the second half, yes, it did kind of change the whole flow of the game. I do agree.
Well, Peter Bank, you're right. You made a lot of comments, and we haven't taken all of them. So I'll combine all three of them and said, yes, this was outstanding. We won, and praise the Lord that we won. And we should absolutely, whoever wants to get hammered tonight, they have every right to get hammered because, come on, this is a great win. So go ahead, have fun. No problems about that.
Yeah, I think
All right.
just
Let's
before
take a few more.
just before I
Go
think
ahead.
Peter Bank. I think if sorry, if I'm not wrong, I think he's the one that comments on almost every short that we post on YouTube as well. So thank you so much, Peter, for thank
Thank
you for
you.
watching them. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for liking our content. We love fans like you because we do this for the fans like you. So he's a public shout out to you guys because you're the guy. You're the guy. Thank you. You and Van Lee, of course. We can't forget Van Lee.
All right, I keep forgetting why we don't want Linglet, but then Ferran's header happened, which we mentioned this briefly in the beginning. Yes, and yes, that's true. That said, though, I think it's a win-win for both sides. Longley is a great player, and I think he fits Simeone's system very well. 10 million for him, which is what we are hearing, should be good for both sides. And it's in the long history of Barca helping Atleti with players who help
Yeah.
them win. It continues. So it's just what it is. But yes, he was slightly at fault for that goal. I would agree with that. That said, when you play, there will be fault. Goals will be scored. Overall, I think he did pretty well and has been doing pretty well for Atleti the whole season. So I think he deserves a lot of credit
Mhm.
for what he has
Mhm.
brought to that back line. He's definitely much better at playing from the back than anybody that Simeone had, and it is giving Simeone a different way to play in other games, and that we saw today in the first half. Right, Jimenez was not playing in the defense, right, which is unthinkable. Like you would think that Jimenez would be the first person on the defense, but he wasn't. It was mostly Lenormand and Longley. So, but yeah, Tom.
Yeah, Longley. I see. We talked about this last on the last stream as well. I think the Longley was always kind of underrated in my book. I mean, he wasn't a spectacular elite of the elite type of player, and maybe he wasn't really a Barca level center back either. But what he did for us was decent enough. I think he provided a good unique profile as a left-footed center back who can actually play well with the ball. Yeah, he had that mistake in him. I think that was kind of the thing that Barca fans hate the most. You could never actually be super confident with Longley because there was always one mistake creeping up somewhere. At one point in the game, he was going to do something very very stupid and cost you either a great chance or a goal itself. Now tonight, I don't know if that was as much his fault, or maybe it was Ferran moving well, and the ball from Raphinha was great as well. So I think it was Barca being very good at setting that attack up, but then maybe yes, I don't know. I would have to see the replay to see if there was anything in the long they could have done better. Maybe there was. I don't know off the top of my head. I don't know now, but I think overall underrated player that was a good choice for Barca. Not the best, not the elite choice by far, but a good choice nonetheless. And yes, hopefully we can sell him for a decent sum.
Hopefully the 10 million comes through. Okay. Now, obviously, this is an important point that Van Lee has talked about. Can Raphinha press like this next season, and will Lewandowski provide the same output next season? Probably no. That's my answer. But that said, that's not the point we are discussing. That's the only reason I'm open to Luis Diaz. But that said, Ferran is outperforming Luis Diaz in terms of goals and assists. So we don't want to get ripped by Liverpool for 75 million, which is the number that is being quoted on social media. And the fan base is quite divisive on this. It seems like a lot of people don't want Luis Diaz to come in. The question is, with Ferran giving the season that he's giving, what do you tell him? Like you have to keep him in your plans. It's as simple as that. One. Second, if you look at Liverpool, I mean, are they going to give Salah a new contract with lots of money? I don't think so. Are they going to give what's their attacking sequence going to be like? What is in Arne Slot's head, right? How does he look into it? That they're not having. Yes, they're having a good season. Like I don't know. It's just mixed. They don't like. Yeah, I mean, I'm torn on this. Like, just us wanting doesn't mean that he's coming. At the same time, I don't know whether Arne Slot wants him that much. And if they don't, then Liverpool will want to, get him off the books and make as much money as possible. And then Barca becomes a favorable destination. But then does he bring that much? to justify it for that amount of money with the team that we have, Dom?
Not for that money. I don't think I wouldn't give that much money for a Luis Diaz, because that much money gets you a lot. I think on the market, it still gets you better players. I don't know if it gets you a Leao. It gets you Nico Williams for sure. It gets you players that could have a similar impact, but for a much less money. If you have that much money to spend, and if you just add a bit more, you can get players that are twice the quality. Now I have said this before, and I do stand by. I think Luis Diaz is a very good player. I think he has the fundamentals and both the physical and technical aspects to be an elite winger. Even I stand by that. I think it's the mental, it's something about his mentality, I think, and the environment that are wrong, and he's just not being consistent enough to warrant such a price tag. But overall, when you look at the fundamentals, he is a very good player nonetheless, but just not a 75 million player for this Barca side in his current form, at least. No, I wouldn't go for him. Not for that money, at least.
There you go. So that's what we think, that amount is not warranted. That said, he's a great player. And the window will be inflated because the windows are inflated. So we'll get to see what happens. But with the season Ferran Torres is having, you'll have to keep him in his plans. And that brings us to the next question, which is how can you explain the drop-off that we see from Ferran when he starts games? It's one of those mysteries that one can never explain. One would believe that somebody who performs like this, when you give that person the starting role, he can perform even better. But that's not what we have seen under Flick. And what we theorized, and we may be wrong, was that by the 60th, 65th minute, the teams tire out. They don't have that same level of intense, vigorous pressing. They're also on their second gear, first gear, whatever, and that helps Ferran. That helps Ferran be Ferran, right? In the beginning of the game, when teams are just breathing down your back, I think he doesn't get that amount of space. But that said, that's just theory. Maybe completely wrong. To explain why this happens, can be mentality as well. It can be anything, to be honest. But it is true that sub Ferran is a totally different ball game than starter Ferran. And if somebody has a better explanation, I would love to hear that from a tactical perspective. But Dom, we have
no, yeah, I think that's exactly what we talked about. That's the only thing that we can think of. Maybe it's about mentality as well, because he's so eager to come on and prove himself and change the game for Barca that maybe that pushes him to actually perform beyond his standard level. Let's put it that way. Not that he's a bad player, but when he does come on as a sub, he's a completely different player, much improved player for somebody, as you guys say as well in the comments. But yes, it could be tiredness. It could be even mental fatigue. Players are not so laser focused anymore on their markers. And then Ferran comes in and he moves really well. He does move really well, and he does have very good striker fundamentals. The way he creates separation, he knows when to slow down, when to speed up, to create that distance, that yard of distance between himself and the marker. He knows how to shoot the ball well. His ball striking is very, very good. And then he also knows how to be in the right place at the right time. And those three combination of traits is what makes him dangerous, especially if you lose focus. If you are not really careful and you don't really see Ferran as a big threat, especially when you're tired and mentally and physically tired, then he can take advantage of that. And that finish with his head tonight, that also wasn't an easy finish. That was a very, very good finish by Ferran. So, props to him again. Yeah.
Props to Gerard Martin, as he's improved so much in the Osasuna game as reliable substitute. This is where I think, there are elite coaches who can realize and figure out talent, because most of us can, because I don't think anyone in Barca, the fan base entirely, was for Gerard Martin except Hansi Flick himself. Right. Mm-hmm. And from the beginning of the season, he somehow felt that this is important, or this kid can play, and he kept giving him chances after chances. And today, it's become much more evident, but that just goes to say that at that level, coaches can see stuff at training or what have you that we don't get to see at all, and they make decisions because he got a contract. He got Flick persisted with him over many other names when the entire on X, and people are what does he see in Gerard Martin? But that just goes to see that that's what elite coaches are.
Exactly. Yeah, they just know. They see the details that make or break a player, and they know. They also see a player. The best coaches, they see a player. They see, okay, this is where I have to hide with the system. This is what I have to emphasize with the system, and this is what I have to work on in training, and this is what I have to improve in training. And I think the more he plays, the more rhythm he gets, the more synergy he creates with the other players, the better he will be. Now, is he an elite level player? His ceiling may not be that high, but the way that Flick is using him, for the purpose, for the role that he's been given, he's been very good. Yes, especially since that game. Something just clicked, right? It clicked, and he needs a bit of he needed a bit of confidence. The same as Chesney, for example. I mean, many of those players need a good game first. They need to have a good game, and then they build from that good game. And the good coaches will recognize that, and they will give them enough chances to actually build on that confidence and on that momentum. And he has been building on momentum. He didn't play much today, but for the minutes that he was on, it was still good. It was decent. He was tidy.
That's right. Yeah, give Hansi Flick a 10-year contract. Every Barca fan will want that. But what we are hearing is that probably this is Hansi Flick's last season as a coach, which is a shame. But if it's true, but that said, I would be happy if Laporta can get one more season out of him, like an extension for 2 years, maybe. I don't think Hansi Flick is the kind of guy who will be there for 10 years. He's just not that type. But once his contract ends, if Laporta can get him just 2 more years, I'll be super happy. Literally, I'll be super happy. I don't think I doubt that will happen, though, given how Hansi is. He might want to walk away in the sunset. But that said, 10 years probably won't happen. But if we get 2 years of Laporta more from Hansi, I think that will be perfect to set this team up for a long, long time. These are all kids. They play with him for 4-5 years at the highest level. They will have this fundamental, which is like insanely strong. The mentality will be wired inside them, and that can stand Barca for years to come. So I would request maybe 2 more years of Hansi if it's possible. But that's just me thinking.
Yeah, no, a lot depends on how we actually end the season, because let's not forget, nothing's done yet, right? Nothing's done yet. We're so euphoric, we're so happy, and we have every right to celebrate every single win that we get. And I'm happy that we are in this position to actually celebrate these kind of wins. But at the same time, let's wait until the end of the season, and then I think Laporta will decide based on the trophy cabinet as well. Of course, the progression of the team,
Absolutely.
the work that he's been doing, it matters so much. But for Barca, the trophies will matter as well. I think even without a trophy, he should, if the performances are like this and the team keeps going upwards,
100%.
then yes, absolutely, give him at least another year and see what he can do. Because this team, in theory, can only become better next year, especially if we sign well and smart. But we'll see about that in the summer. We'll see.
Absolutely. All right, let's take a look into a little bit of the game itself, because we haven't. And so just using SofaScore, this is where it started changing. Sorloth scoring on the 70th, Lewandowski coming on 72nd minute, and then we had Ferran 78, Ferran again 90 plus 3, and Yamal 90 plus 8, and Yamal so obviously Ferran will take away all the credits and so on, but very topsy-turvy. But look at the game state here. Like Barca, it was not that Barca was completely locked out. There was momentum on our side throughout the game, but there were these peaks and troughs that you can see. This first half here, we were completely shut out. We had no idea. But then after the break, we were much more in. We looked a lot more like Barca and then did Barca things, whatever, and that we saw. Now let's look into some of the other numbers. Okay, possession. We improved on the possession bit at the end, but it's the XG. We madly overperformed this XG again. Look at that, 1.26 to 1.36, and we scored 4 goals. Yeah, and this keeps on happening. Every single game this happens. And while it's amazing for us fans, it's hard to consistently keep this up. And this is where I feel, if I have any concern this season, is that we have won so many games like this, right? Somewhere I feel our luck will run out. Just that's it. But long may this continue. It's outstanding. Just looking at this data. The other thing that I wanted to just pose is look at how the passes actually happen. Look at the number of, and this is, if you look into it again, final third entry is 72 from us, but that until that 70th minute, we didn't really have any answers, right? I mean, we cried a lot, but they were very good in just shutting that off completely. And you can see 84%, right? But we weren't that good from that perspective. Duels, topsy-turvy, more or less the same, 51, 49, 38 to 62. Obviously, with Atleti has much more prowess on aerial than we have, but standardized, I would say. Again, look at the massive shift from Atleti in the tackles one, like we are 41, 81. That's a Diego Simeone skill. But look at the total tackles. So like the job that people like Pedri, Yamal, Olmo do in winning back possession, right? Doing very tactical fouling or what have you. It's insane. I mean, so it's very good that compared to last versions of Barca that you might have seen. And look at the number of recoveries that we did today. Like
Mhm.
it's hard to do more recoveries than Atleti in a game, but it's pretty good from that perspective. Clearances, shout out. I mean, yes, the defense didn't do amazing, but yeah, it's okay. We're still leading them in terms of clearances and what have you. But that also means that they got to play a lot more than we had to, and so on and so forth. But I'll Dominic, thoughts on the match stats?
I think the data is mostly in our favor, which is fair enough. We had most of the incentive, we had most of the agency in the game, and yeah, the fact that we played that most football was played on Atletico's half, like even more than in the middle third. Doesn't happen often, right? Usually Barca will camp in the middle, and that's where the most of the possession will come from. But now we were promptly in their half because number one, yes, we can do that to teams. But number two, Atletico very happy to actually let us do this as well in a sense as well. So I think and them being able to score 2 goals from just having 19% of the game being played in our half, that's also exactly what they are, Dev. So not much else to read in this in the numbers, but I think largely expected because we dominated most of the metrics, but then the most important one was the goals, and we managed to get that over the line, incredibly well, but it didn't look that way for the
Yeah, I
big
didn't.
part of
But
the
but
game.
man, that was it. We've been doing this, and I will continue. Hope
Yeah,
that we continue doing this throughout the season because you feel great as a fan, of course,
yeah, yeah,
and you
yeah.
have not felt great as a fan for many, many, many years. So you kind of like cherish this moment a lot. So this is great, and yeah, guys, that's it. I mean, we've been at it for a while.
Yeah, yeah,
So please do join us. We'll be back with. This was a great game. We have a match in hand, obviously, with Osasuna. So those dates will be finalized. We'll be back with Dortmund for sure. And if you haven't, check out Benjamin Sesko's profile that Dom has done on the blog. It's pretty detailed. It's pretty good. I think you guys will like it. And we have something coming out on Lamine Yamal as well. So keep your eyes out for that. That we're working on. And then we are also going to talk about a new striker, right?
yeah.
Somebody who has been
X.
connected to us. We have not yet bought, but we have rumors and so on and so forth. So look out, and there'll be a lot of content coming out from that perspective. We're also doing something on Ball Day. There's a lot of content as usual.
Yeah.
So keep a lookout. It'll come out on its own this week and the week after, and then join us again next week when we are back and for the Champions League games as well. Until then, stay safe, take care, and Visca Barca 4-2. What a win! Take care, guys.
Bye bye.